Aha! Yay! All right. Hello to my one viewer. All right. Can you see me pretty good? How's my sound? All right. I'm fuzzy. Uh, Picture or could be my lighting. Of course, I'm just using my laptop camera, so my camera is not the most wonderful. Okay, so let's play with light. Pardon me. Oh no! Got a nice close up of my yarn ball. All right. Oh, really, Doodles? Did I hit you with my yarn ball? I am so sorry. Okay. Okay. Uh, Okay. Am I still pretty pixelated? Right now, this is mostly exploring how this works. Cool. All right. Okay, so what do you want to know? Well, we will improve things as we move along here. This is a baby channel that is trying to figure itself out. Okay, well, I am autistic, I am dyslexic, I am also physically disabled, as we've explored up to a point. Um, and we've also explored up to a point how I became physically disabled. Um, so, yeah, what we really haven't explored is how autism and dyslexia affect my life. Um, I have really the way that my brain works. To put it as simplistically as I can, is imagine you have this really high end gaming computer. Graphics are great. It's got really awesome memory. It's like top of the line as far as you can get with graphics and sound and memory and all of that. But you have somebody built it with the processing chip of an Apple II. So when I'm trying to take what I know and turn it into something that I can express to somebody else, it sometimes takes me longer than what it would an average person. And then you add into that the fact that my short-term memory and my working memory are extremely limited. That's like taking very limited RAM, like cheapest computer on the market with the lowest amount of RAM that you can find. Yeah, that's pretty much how my short-term and working memory are. So yeah, it's kind of um, very torpy, and it can be very frustrating. I mean, especially when I'm really tired. Uh, that stream that I did with Denver Stevo, I was really tired, and my pain level was way up. It's kind of uh, middle-ish right now, but it's not horrible. I can work through it. Um, but yeah, my ability to process what I'm taking in and what I'm trying to put out, that's autism. Uh, my mother knew that there was something very, very different about me because she has babysat since she was 8 years old. She's been around small children and infants all of her life. And the way that I was from birth to about 6 months old changed very massively when I was about 6 months old. It was like up to about 6 months, I didn't seem to really understand what was expected of me. So I would basically sit there and try to figure it out, and I would be very, very serious, she said. And about 6 months old, I finally started to kind of understand what people wanted from me for certain things. So my behavior completely did a 180 from being very serious to being very happy and friendly and giggly. Uh, and then also both me and both of my sisters. Hi, babe. Good to see you joining us tonight, babe. And my husband, Colby, he can also interject and throw in some stuff here. And there might be stuff that he doesn't even know about the way that my brain works. So, um, but yeah, it's like starting when I was about 6 months old, there was a very clear behavior change. And thanks, babe. I love you too. Yes, I am weird. I know I'm weird, but I love the weird. I embrace the weird. Yeah, and you're weird too, by the way, Mr. ADHD brain. Hey, weird is awesome. Normal is boring. And we do not weird shame in my house. We do not stem shame in my house. Uh, Stemming is well, everybody stems up to a point. Even neurotypical people will stem. Exactly. Don't be beige. Oh, do you want your Milo's tea or do you want your Kool-Aid? Because I don't just have that off-brand shit for you tonight, my love. I have name brand Kool-Aid. Oh yeah. Do, do, do. I'll figure it out eventually because the computer is backwards. Ooh, yes, we're still backwards. Okay, I got it now. I got it now. I got you grape, and I got you wonderful tasty. Yeah, he's probably got to go do rounds, Mr. Security Guard man. Uh, but yeah, it's like there was a very clear change, and I was talking. Uh, Both me and my sisters were talking way before we what's typical. We were starting to walk way before what's typical, and that's all. And do not hate on me for using this terminology. I've been told all of my life who and what I am, and who and what I can be, and how I can identify myself. So the way that I choose to identify, don't hate on, because that kind of really annoys me. Uh, we are Me and my sisters, we're all Asperger's type, which means we are we are we are more intelligent. Our intelligence level is higher. Our cognitive ability is higher. Um, General IQ and general ability to figure out what's going on around us, and also um, our ability to like take the information we have and turn it into something that's usable is greater. And we also don't need as much uh, support as far as being able to run a household, cook, clean. uh, Driving is not a problem. Like, the difference between me and my client, he will never be able to cook for himself. He will never be able to well, he's gotten better about dressing himself, but he will always need help dressing himself. He will probably always need help going to the bathroom, uh, and just things that people need for daily life. And so he will always have high support needs. And it's just the way that autism panned out for him. That does not mean that he is not highly intelligent. It just means that the rest of us have to work harder to understand what he needs from us. Yes, exactly. We Autistic people, by and large, were a lot more intelligent than we get credit for, because we have so much more trouble expressing it. And unless we've had parents and other caregivers work with us and help us learn how to work around what society expects from us, unless we've had that, it's harder for us to understand, and it's harder for us to figure out what we need to do to be able to fit ourselves into the world at large and to show how smart we are. It's like, you can ask my husband. I can come off as a complete dum dum sometimes. It's like, this afternoon, for example, I was trying to load the dogs up and take them over to my mom's because Jane needed some run time, and I was completely exhausted last night. Um, and when I have a series of systems in place to help me make up for the fact that my short-term memory is shit and my working memory is shit. So I have so many systems in place, like just processes that I automatically do, that I've trained myself to do. Uh, and because I was so tired last night, I didn't put my keys where they went. I didn't put my wallet where it was supposed to go. I didn't put my coat where it was supposed to go. So I couldn't find any of that stuff. when I was trying to get together to get the dogs out the door and over to my mom's house. And I spent half an hour looking for my keys. I Right before I found them, I was about to call my mom and tell her, "Hey, you've raised a stupid child. I can't find my keys, and I've been looking for them for half an hour." It's like I laugh at this stuff because it happens all the time. I cannot even begin to count how many times I have locked myself out of my house because I forgot to grab my keys before I left, walked out the door, and closed it. Yeah, true facts. It's like these, and people see this stuff and they're like, "Oh yeah, I forget my keys every once in a while. I lock myself out of the house. Yeah, accidents happen." No, 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 no. Um, Accidents happen sometimes. Oh yeah, my husband's ADHD, and yeah, he can lose objects while he is holding them. I've watched him lose his phone while he was holding it. I'm not quite that bad, but I do have my moments. Like, I love you, babe. We're going to be real about this stuff. This is where we're real. And so yeah, it's like I didn't do any of the stuff that I was supposed to do last night. I did put my shoes where they belonged, so I was able to find my shoes at least. But it's like normal people, they will occasionally lock themselves out of the house. They will occasionally lose their keys. They will occasionally forget to grab their lunch. We're talking the average person, the normal neurotypical person will do this like maybe once a month, maybe once every 3 months. This is weekly for me. And it's bad enough with the locking myself out of the house that we have spare keys strategically placed around the outside of the house just in case I accidentally lock myself out. And I can't remember where one spare key is, so there's like five. It's like there's what's normal, and then there's neurotypical me, because dyslexia sometimes doesn't even help that. But yes, exactly. No, don't talk to me when I'm trying to get ready to leave, or I will forget stuff. And I love my husband, but he is notorious for interrupting me when I'm trying to get ready to leave the house, especially when he's already gone to work. And I know that he's not trying to interfere with the way that my brain works. I know that he's just wanting to share thoughts and feelings with me and checking on me and stuff, but it does interfere. But as far as stimming is concerned, that normal people, neurotypical people, they do that to a certain extent. It's like if you've ever fiddled with your hair, if you've ever like been playing with your hair, messing around, doing this stuff, twiddling your thumbs, playing with your fingers, any of that stuff, click it, pin clicking, that's all stimming. The difference between how much a neurotypical person stims versus how much an ADHD person or an autistic person stims, way, way different. autistic people and ADHD people, we stem so much more because it's how we regulate ourselves. It's how we regulate our emotions. Uh, it's how we process new information, and it can also be a way when we're getting overwhelmed to like purge some of that too much. Like if we are too happy or too excited or too angry, we can get so overwhelmed by that that we can go into what is called a sensory meltdown. Meltdowns, they can look a lot like a temper tantrum, but the big difference between a temper tantrum and a meltdown, and you can prove this and tell the difference in this with small children. A temper tantrum, you can distract that child from. You can distract a temper tantrum. You can redirect a temper tantrum. But when you have a meltdown, when you've just hit that point of too much and you cannot take anymore, and you have to purge off that too muchness, you cannot redirect that. You cannot stop that. You cannot distract it. It just has to play itself out once it started. And meltdowns can be very bad. They can get very bad and they can get very violent. Uh, I have mostly trained myself out of being violent when I'm having a meltdown. Um, Things that can help during meltdowns. The first thing to do when you see somebody that you think is having a meltdown is, I love you too, babe. Oh, okay, babe. That's fine. If you gotta go deal with work stuff, go deal with work stuff. I love you too. Um, but things that can help, and this is mostly with adults, but if you encounter an adult with a child that is having a meltdown, you can do some of this stuff with them as well. But if you encounter an adult that's having a meltdown, the best thing to do is to ask if you can help and what you can do to help. And they may or may not be able to respond verbally. A lot of the time when I am having a meltdown, I go nonverbal. I cannot respond verbally. It's not that I don't want to, it's that I cannot. It's the language center in my brain shuts down when I'm having a meltdown. I just can't. Um, but as far as sometimes touch will help. Sometimes giving them a hug will help. It will help ground them. It will help center them. But again, you need to ask. Always ask. Is it okay if I do this? Will this help you? Oh, and I'm frozen. Am I frozen? Okay. Um, always ask because even if they can't respond verbally, they can give you a nonverbal response by shaking their head or nodding their head. Uh, because yeah, that's usually sometimes the best thing you can do is to let them work through it themselves and just let it play out. But sometimes there are things that you can do that will help. Sometimes it's just offering them a thing to help them. Like if they have stim tools that they use. If there's a specific one that works really well for them, sometimes offering them that will help. Um, if there's different stems, offering them that sometimes can help. Offering them a drink might help, but always, always, always ask because if you do the wrong thing, it can make it worse. And that's the last thing they want, and that's the last thing that you want. Computer games helps. Yes, it can. Sometimes when I'm having a meltdown, I have where did I put my phone? Oh, hello phone. I have a whole folder on my phone. Those are all games that I stem with. Those are all games that help take me out of whatever I'm stuck in that I can't cope with. Sometimes I'll stem with them when I'm bored. Sometimes I'll stem with them when I'm anxious. Uh, but if I'm just like in a light meltdown, that can help me process my way out of that. But I mean, if I don't catch it before it starts getting really bad, uh, yeah, that's pretty much the way that I do. Is I will just kind of shut down and I can stem my way out of it. I can stem my way through it, but if I'm messed with too much, then I can't start to re get my regulation going. Um, it's just that too muchness is just can be so bad. Um, but yeah, I sorry, I'm losing my words here. Um, but yeah, when you get into that too muchness, that's when that stuff happens. And the big thing is, if you see someone having a meltdown, the worst thing you can do is ignore it, especially if it's something that's going on in public. Because I hate having meltdowns in public. I absolutely hate it, and I will absolutely do everything I can to avoid going into full meltdown in public because people will have this reaction where they will pretend it's not happening and they will ignore it and they just won't acknowledge it. And that's actually worse. That's actually so much worse than just somebody coming up and asking me if I'm okay, if there's something that they can do to help me. I mean, even if there's nothing they can do to help me, just having them acknowledge and notice that they have that they see that I am having a problem. Just that makes it less bad. Um, and being an autistic child is, especially being a low support needs autistic child. It's just really hard, especially when you're going through school. Uh, if you're in public school, yeah, being a high functioning, low support needs autistic person, yeah, that's bad stuff. And given that I was going through childhood in the late 70s, 80s, and early 90s, that's like the dark ages for them for diagnosing autism. Uh, Mostly at that time, the people that got diagnosed were folks like my client that are very, very clearly different. Those were the people that when I was a child that got recognized as being autistic and got helped. People like me, kids like me, no, I didn't get noticed. I didn't get it didn't get recognized that I needed some kind of assistance. Nobody really, yeah, the nonverbals, the ones that were very extremely obviously different. Those were the people that got recognized. If you seemed like you were relatively normal, if you were verbal, if you were even quasi social and quasi willing to be social, no, you're just a little bit different. You're weird. You're weird. Maybe you're a little stupid. Maybe you're a little slow, but you're yes. Yes, I love Temple Grandin. She is so awesome. And she also helped bring forward the idea that we all think differently. Our brains all work differently. My brain actually works very similarly to hers, where I think in pictures. My imagination is visual. It's not word based. It's picture based. My memory is picture based. If I'm thinking about a bicycle, I am thinking about an image of a bicycle. If I'm thinking about a specific person, I am seeing that person in my mind's eye. And this also gets into the dyslexia part of the way that my brain works. Uh, People see dyslexia as an issue with words, an issue with being able to read, an issue with being able to understand language. Um, and yeah, that's a big part of it. And the reason why that's a big part of it is um, my brain works in three dimensions. I can imagine things in three dimensions. Um, One of the things when I was diagnosed with dyslexia, um, I've I'm dyslexic. I've got two different types of dysgraphia. One of which is very, very specific to uh, high functioning autistics. I have typical dysgraphia where I have issues reading letters and numbers on a page and making it all stay in syntax. Synesthesia is a little different. It's where um, your senses are crossed. Like, and I don't want to sound disrespectful with this, but it's like being able to smell the color nine. Uh, Somebody who's synesthetic can do that because all of their senses are crossed. They interact with each other in a very, very different way from what is typical. Um, but having a three-dimensional brain, if I imagine my wedding ring, I will see it in my mind as a three-dimensional object. And I can take it and I can turn it around and around in my brain and see it from all angles. And one of the things that they did when I was going through the testing to see if I was dyslexic was they had me imagine an object in the palm of my hand. and they had me imagine that my finger on the opposite hand was a camera, and she would take my hand and move it to different angles around the object. Thank you, Molly. My little princess cat just decided to fling her food dish off of where it is because it is empty and therefore useless. Ah, life with cats. I love her. She's obnoxious, but I love her. And when she did that, just changing the angle of my hand changed the way that my brain was seeing it. And I was seeing it from all different angles. I never tried that before. And I didn't know that I could do that. And I had no idea I could do that. So she had me do that. I was like, this is weird, but it's so cool. And so yeah, the diagnostic process for dyslexia is very crazy, but it's really cool. Uh, and it answered a lot of questions about why I am the way I am and why I see things the way that I do and why I have some of the problems that I do. It's like I have issues with right left reversal, which dealing with this uh with my bathroom, it's on my right, but on the screen it's on the left. So I mean it my brain is very this way anyway. So having the camera flipped like that just kind of messes with me extra. I have issues with right left reversal. I have sometimes I have issues uh with front back. Oh yeah, that yeah, I do that all of the time, trying to give directions. You need to go right, I mean left. Um, it is a thing, and it is it comes part and parcel with neurodiversity. My father had huge problems with left, right, forward, back. I don't know if he had issues with over under, but my dad was an army captain. He went through officer school. And one of the things in officer school that you do is you have to be in command of a group of soldiers, and they're supposed to do what you tell them to do. Exactly what you tell them to do. So he was marching his guys and he got his directions backwards, and he told them forward march when he meant reverse march, and he marched his guys into a ditch because they were supposed to do exactly what he said to do. And he, there's reasons why I like you then. But yeah, it's like he he told his guys to go forward when he meant for them to go backwards, and into the ditch they went because they were supposed to do what he told them to do, and they did. And there's a lot of things that, because my brain works in three dimensions, when you're not dealing with three-dimensional things, or when you're dealing with things that are reversible and you can get backwards, it's going to happen. um but yeah, growing up as an autistic child that was not recognized as being autistic, that was hard because a lot of my teachers didn't understand why I would refuse to do certain things or why I would do things in a completely different way. And it also made, when I got into the grades where you start to do math, uh, especially the more advanced math, I just couldn't, or I couldn't do it the way that they wanted it done. Especially algebra. And my dad, being autistic and dyslexic as well, of course, he was never diagnosed because he was born in 42 or 43, and that didn't really even get to be something that was well understood until the mid to late 90s. And it wasn't until the 2000s that we really started to get a grasp on it. Um, and you'll see some of my issues come out here. I have issues with language processing, which means occasionally my brain will get a hiccup and I will know what I want to say, but it doesn't translate very well when it comes down to coming out of my mouth, because language, it's a universal thing. You have to use both sides of your brain to make language be able to have a complete process. You have to, one side of your brain takes it in, makes it into something that you can understand, and then you have to have the other side of your brain create a response, and then it has to come down where you can say it. Well, how it will work for me is I will have the sentence formed in my brain and I will know what I want to say, but when I go to say it, it gets tangled up. Yeah, it gets tangled up on the way out, and then I'll just, well, I did it just a minute ago where I was like, it won't come out, and I'm trying to make it come out, but it's just not gonna happen. So I have to take a step back, pause, refocus myself, and then try again. And sometimes I have to try 2 or 3 times before I can actually get that thought fully out. Uh, I did that the other day when I was talking to my therapist on Friday. I don't remember what I was trying to say, and she already had figured out what I was wanting to say, but she was going to let me process through it and express it because she could tell that I needed to actually say the words, even though she knew what I was wanting to say. And it was just like that. It was like it started to come out and it was, "Eh." Yeah, oh, he was reading at 4? He is super hyperlexic. My older sister is hyperlexic. She can read a 200-page book in 2 days. Uh, one, if she has nothing better to do. It's like, I wish I could do that. I like to read. I enjoy reading, but it's challenging for me. And if as long as it's written in a conversational type style, I can read that easily. Yeah, that's my older sister right there. She's that way. She can read very quickly. She's hyperlexic and she can read extremely quickly and have full on come on. And I just had my brain hiccup where my language was not wanting to come out just there. Um yeah, but she can have full comprehension and full retention. I wish my brain would do that. I so completely wish that my brain would do that, but it doesn't. It won't. I it is just one of those things. And if the book's written in a conversational type style, I have an easier time with it. I do enjoy reading Piers Anthony, but he's harder for me because he writes in more the English, like the high end English lit, perfect professional, how you communicate, as far as someone in a professional setting and all of that. Uh, the how you write a paper nonsense. At least it's nonsense to me. It's like if that works for you, if that is good for you, awesome. It's not my bag. It doesn't work for me. It's like I love, and this is totally because of this dyslexia. This this right here. I love to crochet. I can see it, I can feel it, I can touch it. If I can see it and feel it and touch it, I can manage it. But things that are not oh not real. Oh, come on, computer, cooperate with me. Oh yeah, you like my my SP shop merch? Uh, Gotta support the Aftermath Foundation, don't you know? Um, but yeah, it's like I just can't. I just can't. My brain just doesn't work like that. It doesn't. It doesn't do the verbose. It doesn't do the that style of writing. Uh, I love Andre Norton. But she's very, very. Andre Norton. She also kind of writes that way, where she's more of the writing to this strict English paper format stuff. Uh, and that's just hard for me. I mean, I can read it and I can deal with it, but it just takes me longer. I have to take my time with it to process it and to get through. I beg your pardon with my shifting around a lot. My sciatic nerve is not being very friendly today. Gotta love fall weather. Yay. Um, but yeah, it's like daily life when you're an autistic. That's a challenge, and it's like housekeeping. Yeah, I can do it when I can get myself when I can remember to do it. But um, the house looks a small whirlwind went through it, and the whirlwind in question would be myself or my spouse, and occasionally children. Um, but that goes back to that whole short-term memory and working memory problem. And oh, yes, exactly. Very, very literally a pain in the ass. And given that I've got that nerve damaged, the pain is not always just in my ass. It goes all the way down my leg to my big toe because eh, sciatic nerve normally that thick. Mine was about double that before I had my back surgery. So yeah, when your nerve is compromised for a long time, it gets angry, and sometimes it stays angry forever. It's like after about a year to a year and a half, that was as much as my nerve was gonna recover. Yep, yep, it goes all the way down the back of my leg, all the way to my big toe, if it's being really bad. Sometimes it's not that bad, but, if it's being really bad, it goes all the way down to my big toe from where it branches off just above my hip. It is not fun, and I'm surprised that I don't have some floofy, fuzzy heating pad trying to lay against my back trying to fix me, because that's what they like to do a lot of the time. But I guess Molly does not want to join the live stream tonight. That's okay. We will survive. Yeah, I go to the chiropractor. Well, I'm supposed to go to the chiropractor every 6 to 8 weeks, because what causes this a lot of the time, because I'm missing most of the two discs at the base of my spine. Um, what causes it a lot of the time for me, because I'm missing that cushioning and the the muscles and everything that's supposed to hold all of your shit together. Um, what happens is my pelvis will shift and drop. The right side of my pelvis will drop, and it will start putting pressure on that damaged nerve. And the more pressure it puts, the more it hurts, and the more it hurts, the more angry the nerve gets, and the more angry the nerve gets, the more it hurts. It's just a lovely, lovely little cycle that is just not very lovely. No, at the time that I had my back surgery, all my neurosurgeon did, was take out the disc material that was being a problem, that was compromising my sciatic nerve, because I was only 25 when all of that came to a head. And so at that time, he didn't want to do more to me than he absolutely had to. And the problem with spinal fusion is, that then makes it so that that part of your spine cannot flex, and it causes uh, more and more damage for up. And since this is right at the base of my spine, it would slowly start causing the rest of my spine to degenerate. And he didn't want to do that to me. He also didn't want to put hardware in me, because he was trying to do damage control, not cause more problems. And it's hard when you're dealing with a 25-year-old, because that's still really young in the grand scheme of things, and you don't want to do something that's going to compromise things later on. And that was what he was having to look at and having to deal with, and he was trying to figure out what would be best for me long term. And I could have done medication in time, but given what he was seeing on my MRI films, that just was not likely to do a whole lot for me. And it wasn't going to do very much for me quickly at all. And I wanted to get back to living my life. I was literally couch bound for over a month, and I was tired of that. I was completely done with that. I couldn't. If I'd had to live that lifestyle very much longer, you would not be talking to me now. And I know YouTube is very touchy on this, but I I think not using the accurate and the correct words stigmatizes it. It's like I hit a point where I was suicidal, and I hit a point where it was, if I'd had to be that way much longer, I would not be here, because I got to the point where I could not continue that life, because that was not living. That was existing. I could not do anything that I considered to be worthwhile for my life. I couldn't I couldn't hardly take care of myself. I couldn't even get up and walk around very much, or my pain meds would wear off way sooner than they were supposed to. It was just not a life. Yeah, and the thing about chronic pain, long-term pain, pain that does not fade, pain that does not go away, uh, that does lead to suicidal thoughts and the desire to make it stop, and make it stop forever. And I mean, I know that not everybody wants to talk about this, and I know not everybody wants to think about this, but it is part of living with chronic pain. And there is a very high incidence of suicide in the chronic pain community. And there's some 10 to 40 million, numbers, depending on who you ask, are different. Um, but that's a really big community, and not all of us make it 5 years. So the fact that I've made it 20 years is huge. Um, what it means is I've had access to doctors that would listen to me. I've had access to pharmacists that would listen to me. And actually, when I slipped and fell on the porch, 4 years ago, I kind of, yeah, well, it's not all in your head. Mm, some of it's in your butt. At least it's in my butt. Um, but yeah, it's a thing, and when you've lived with it for as long as I have, you learn how to tune it out. At least what's normal, the normal level. You learn to tune it out, and you learn to power through, and you learn to do stuff that someone who does not live with pain 24/7, moderate to severe pain. Oh, God, thinking, mm, motherfucker. Trying to stretch my hips so they'll stop hurting. Oh, yes. Okay, I give up. What do we have here? I was kind of expecting this. Keeping the pain meds handy. Oh yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, that's super obnoxious when you've got a pain specialist telling you that, you're just imagining things. That is ugh, that pisses me off. But, yeah, my younger sister got told that when her gallbladder was so full of stones that her gallbladder could not function, and she had doctors telling her that it was all in her head, that it wa they couldn't figure out what was wrong with her because she was an 18-year-old, and they didn't wanna think about consider the idea that she could have gallstones, much less the severe level of gallstones that she had at 18. Well, hello, autistic, undiagnosed autistic. We have weird health problems that nobody else has. And then my younger sister is also something of a unicorn inside of a unicorn on a rainbow made of sprinkle farts. That she survived toxoplasmosis, which that doesn't typically happen at all, ever. Um, so yeah, she's an autistic that is a survivor of toxoplasmosis, and so yeah, her body works completely weirdly. Yes, yes, unicorn inside of a unicorn on a rainbow with glitter farts. That's exactly right. She's an especially odd little unicorn. So they didn't want to consider that an 18-year-old might have severe gallstones. So for her 20th birthday, she finally found a doctor that would listen to her and did the imaging that is required to diagnose gallstones. And her gallbladder was so full of gallstones, she they almost had to do the alternate old school method because they almost couldn't get it out laparoscopically. I mean, it was absolutely stinking full to the point where her gallbladder was dying. And it wasn't until it got to that point that she finally was able to find a doctor that would listen to her. It's like pain is not a mental health thing. Pain can cause mental health things, abso-fucking-lutely, but pain itself is not a mental health problem, and it gets treated like one, and that's just so frustrating. It's like, it's so incredibly frustrating, and it's like, well, I have proof, very, very visual proof, that my business is not false. It's like, I have a surgery scar at the base of my spine that's that long, uh, that says, "Hey, this chick's been through some shit." It's like, and like I was saying earlier, I when I got the compression fracture, uh, on my when I sustained that compression fracture to my T12 vertebrae, the doctors just kind of they they watched me refuse pain meds left and right. They were like, "Oh yeah, we'll give you uh some fentanyl. We'll give you something really good to help with that pain level." And I'm like, "Oh no, no, I'm good. Just give me my tramadol. That's what I take. That manages my pain just fine. That's what I just took just now." Um, And I was like, "Yeah, I'll be fine. That's all I need. That'll take care of it." Of course, dummy me. Um, well, not stupid because I didn't know better, because I couldn't know better because I'd never broken a bone before in my whole entire life. Um, yeah, that there are 4 disc conditions: dyslexia, dyspraxia, dysgraphia, dyscalculia. Yeah, our friend, Mr. Dyspraxia. Because of Mr. Dyspraxia, anytime I've had an incident where I should have broken a bone, what's happened is the joint near where that bone is, or surrounding where that bone is, because it's so loosely held together. My joints are like this. They're nice and floppy and loose and happy. Most people's joints are kind of like this. They're held together pretty good. Mine are nice and floppy and loose. So when I do something that's going to break a bone, my joint will just kind of and come apart. And so all those soft tissues will give and fail. And so because of that, I'd never ever broken a bone before. Well, the problem, I haven't been diagnosed with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, but there are a lot of connective tissue disorders. I've actually thought about getting some genetic testing done to see if there are any markers for anything that this would line up with. But sometimes it's just your joints aren't very well connected, and it's nothing to do with EDS. Um, and I have talked to uh, I've talked to several what do you call it, orthopedic doctors, and they don't seem they haven't diagnosed me with anything like that. Um, I've also got some really fun things going on with my knees that has nothing to do with connective tissue issues. It has everything to do with the fact that my bones, most people's bones, grow nice and straight. Well, my knees grew like this because my lower legs grew like this. Um, yeah, I don't know. I've never had any diagnosis like that, and I've never had any doctor that deals with that stuff bring that up. And I have discussed my issues with the fact that I've never broken a bone and why. Um, well, it's my lower leg. Yeah, I do. Uh, yeah, that's the simple term for it. But my lower legs, part of my lower legs, I don't know. I wouldn't call it super soft, but I don't really have a benchmark for that. I have a lot of skin problems. Uh, I've got eczema really bad. A lot of times you'll see my face broken out. It's not broken out right now because I've I take a lot of biotin to help my skin out, and I use a lot of products to help my skin out. Um, so yeah, that's a question I don't have an answer for. I don't have a benchmark for it. Uh, Itchy ankle. Sorry, I have itchy. Um, but yeah, my lower legs, they grew crooked. Um, or I don't know if it's my fibula grew crooked or my tibia grew crooked, but it something with both my lower legs. They grew not right, and I learned to hide it. Hmm. Okay, I will discuss that with my osteo doctor next time I go in. Um, but yeah, it's I don't know. My body's as much of a mystery to me as it is to most people. I spend most of my time trying to educate doctors because my body's weird enough that it presents things that most doctors don't normally see, and they don't know how to deal with an autistic person. A lot of them don't. So I have to educate them about autism, and I have to educate them about my body because my body is a unicorn in a herd of zebra that's surrounded by a herd of freaking horses. So, but hence one tough chick. If you need to have any further evidence about why one tough chick, there you go. Um, but yeah, it's called, and I've completely lost my train of thought. Hey, yay! I love my brain. I do. I love my brain, and I love my body. The love is not returned a lot of the time, though. Uh, but yeah, it's like when I went in because I crushed that bone, they were like, "Oh, here's all these meds that we can offer you." And like, no, I don't need that. I've got it. I've lived with chronic pain forever, so it's like for all but like 7 years of my adult life, I've lived with chronic pain. So it's like this is nothing huge. I mean, it's a little bit outside the scope of what I typically live with, but it- just fix me and I'll go and I can go back to work and it'll be all good. And they realized that I clearly did not understand exactly how bad I had fucked myself up. And the answer to that is significantly. What's that? POT. But yeah, I clearly did not understand. They realized that I didn't understand exactly what I'd done to myself, and it wasn't until the tramadol wore off after. Oh yes. I've done CBD, but here in Missouri, if you want a medical marijuana card, you have to surrender your rights to carry firearms, and I'm not willing to do that. And yeah, but yeah, CBD works pretty well. Um, the unfortunate thing is because it's not recognized as a legitimate pain treatment, it's experimental. Fucking insurance doesn't cover it, and I don't always have the. Yeah, check out the Missouri medical marijuana regulations. One of them, and it's the same way in Oklahoma. You have to surrender your right to carry if you want a medical marijuana card. Yeah, it sucks, but life with chronic pain. Yeah, I think they're working on fully decriminalizing and making it so that recreational is okay. But they haven't quite gotten there. I don't think I haven't. I need to redo my research. Oh god. Freaking hip. Ugh. Yeah, 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 yeah. And an alcoholic is more likely to use it inappropriately than someone on pot. But someone who's using the marijuana's, yeah, an active and even a functional alcoholic. Yeah, that's super screwed, ain't it? Yeah, my best friend down in Oklahoma, I was so glad when they legalized medical marijuana down there. He deals with some mental health issues that the antidepressants and what have you that he was taking just I'm going with or what on that one. Stupid or what? Yeah, or what? Uh, just backwards thinking. Um yeah, he's got a medical marijuana card and on the cannabis. I've known him uh since he was 18, since I was 20. And I've seen him on several different types of uh, big pharma meds, and I've seen him on cannabis. On cannabis, he is so much better controlled. I don't see him have any depressive episodes. I don't see him having any self-regulatory episodes. It manages his depression, it manages his ADHD, it it just across the board takes care of the things that he needs to have taken care of better than anything that Big Pharma has ever come out with for him. And let's just face it, somebody who is on the ganja versus somebody who is drunk, the person on the ganja is more likely to be a danger to their pantry than they are to the world at large. Yeah, smoking and driving, bad plan, but drinking and driving, also bad plan. And drinking and driving happens all the time. And I've lost classmates uh, to drunk drivers. First classmate right out of high school that I lost was we graduated in May. He was killed by a drunk driver the following September going home to see his mother on a break from on one of his college breaks. And he was the coolest guy ever. And losing him uh, changed his mother forever because he was her only child. And he died doing what he was known for, which was trying to help someone. He'd stopped to help someone who'd broken down on the side of the road, and the drunk driver that killed him was speeding around a hairpin turn, was on the wrong side of the road, and drove her car into his car with him between them, and that was pretty much all she wrote. According to the medical examiner, he died instantly. And his mom was never the same again. Before that, she was the coolest teacher that you ever knew, and you didn't even realize you were learning. After that, I've talked to people that had her after he died, after he was killed, and she was hard and she was mean, and she just got hard and mean and cruel, and that was never who she was. But losing Sean, that destroyed her, and it was the saddest thing to watch. And the thing is, oh yeah, well, angry for one, hurt for one, and her only child. And Mitzi was also a survivor of um, the Japanese internment camps here in the US. And so she went through all of that, survived all of that, grew up, had a child, and then lost that child this way. And what is absolutely the most abhorrent part of what happened was this man that killed Sean was a repeat offender. This was not his first time driving drunk. This was not his second time driving drunk. This was not even his third offense. It wasn't even his freaking third offense. Yet he still had a driver's license. He still was allowed to have a car. He was still allowed to have access to a car. I think if you have a DUI once, that should be bye bye driver's license. Or at least you should have an ignition control lock in your car forever. And that be the only car you're allowed to drive is one with an ignition control lock that you have to blow in to get the car to start. And that they are still allowing people who are functional alcoholics, people who have repeated DUIs to continue to have access to driving and to continue to have access to firearms when they are far more likely to use that firearm in an inappropriate way than the dude that has the THC pumping through their system. I mean, seriously, Mr. THC, he's more of a danger to your pantry than he is to your life because he's happy and he's hungry. That's all that matters. But that's where I stand on that. I'm gonna climb off my extra tall soapbox because I am not a tall woman. Ugh. Attempt number 251 to not be uncomfortable. Um, but yeah, it's like that's just stupidness. And also, you can't overdose. Oh, you're the same height as dear old Mickey Witz. I was originally 5'3" 5'3.5". I think I'm probably closer to 5'3" or maybe 5'2.5" now. Uh, Post squished vertebrae. Like I am very untall. And actually, yesterday I encountered a gentleman who made me. It's been a while since I've encountered someone that made me feel like I was a 10-year-old again, as an adult woman. Because I know he had to have been at least 6'5", 6'6", maybe even 7 foot. Like, I was tempted to ask him how the weather was up there, but I didn't want to be rude. Like, I am lacking the tallness, and I mean, hmm, okay, so maybe I didn't lose that much height. But anyways, like I just he made me feel short, and it takes a lot to make me feel short anymore. Like, hi, how are you? Uh, but yeah, it's like craziness. So you got any questions about what yeah, my husband's 6'1", but he doesn't make me feel super short, at least not like not like I'm a child again. But those super tall dudes, they make me feel childlike, and I'm like, oh no, oh no, it's the doodle cat. Oh, the doodle cat. The doodle cat's butt, anyway. The booty of the doodle cat. Oh, I just unplugged my laptop. Um, but yeah, being autistic, it's you spend until you're diagnosed, you spend a lot of your life feeling like you're defective. And when I and it was through my client that I started. Yeah, it was through my client that I figured out that I might be on the autism spectrum. It was really a life-changing thing when I figured it out. And I was like, wait. You mean I'm not defective? You mean I'm just different? And and if I change the way that I'm doing things, I'll actually be successful with stuff? Holy crap! And I did, and it did, and I was like, wow. Yeah, there's a lot of good channels out there, that give a lot of really awesome information. Uh, I've got them in my in my follow list on my channel. That they're in that, if you go on my channel, you'll see, where it's got the, home and videos and shorts and live streams and community, and then there's this last tab that is about and all of that. uh, and if you go into that where it's got the list of channels I follow, uh, some of the best ones, especially looking at autism from a guy's point of view, because guys function a little bit differently than girls do on the spectrum. It has to do with pardon me. It has to do with the way that our brains work, at the difference between male brains and female brains, and also what we're geared towards socially. Women are a lot more social than men tend to be. Uh, and so you want to look at the Aspie world, and also Yosemite Sam. Um, I think I've got her on my follow list, and she's very good too. She gives a really good perspective and really good information. And those are two really great sources to look at if you're wanting more information and detailed information. Because really, all I've got is my own personal experience with it. I do. As somebody who is late diagnosed, late figuring it out, because I've only known for 5 years that I was on the spectrum, and I've only had 5 years to process that, and 5 years to deconstruct some of the less helpful coping techniques that I learned because I didn't know any better. Like I've dropped a lot of the masking that I used to do, and I've dropped a lot of the covering my behaviors, covering my stimming, hiding my stimming, not stimming when I need to. I've stopped doing a lot of that and started just living my reality. And yeah, definitely look at those channels, because especially Dan with the Aspie World, he's very good. And he's where I get a lot of my information from and a lot of my knowledge from. And he's also a pretty cool dude. Um, but I think that with you needing to get ready to go help your spouse with your bonus child and all of that, and since you're pretty much my only person that's interacting with me, I've got one lurker there, it looks like. Um, but I think this is a good place to end off my first attempt with this. And so we will, I think I'll make this a weekly thing, maybe on Sundays, maybe on Saturdays. I'll just have to see how that works out in my schedule, and see how that goes. Yeah, this was kind of this was fun, and I'm glad that I could help you out. And now I've got a little bit of experience with how this works. So success, first attempt down. And so I'm going to end off now. And I think for the next time, I will see if I can have some some uh, like intros and outros and some and stuff like that. See if I can figure that out for next week. We shall see. Well, thank you for being my guinea pig. I appreciate that. I hope things go well. And let's see, how do I? Okay, end stream. All right. Have a good evening. I love all y'all, even those watching on the replay crew, especially the replay crew. And remember, I love you.